Yeah. Turn me up. Yeah. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm on the way up. 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 Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. I'm on the way up. I'm on the way up. I'm on the way up.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming the Right Honourable Mark Carney, 24th Prime Minister of Canada.
Great. Thank you very much. Wow. Thanks, Larry.
Yeah. I'm on the way up. Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. 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 Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up. Been a long, long time coming, but I'm on the way up.
We saw imports drop 2.2%, which is a huge decline in the amount of foreign goods that we're consuming here in Canada. And that's really what helped to propel the economy forward, along with some increasing government spending.
What is going on? Countries everywhere are lining up, literally lining up to sign massive deals with Canada. UAE, India, Australia, Japan, South Korea, the EU, everybody. And it's happening at a speed we have never seen before. This is not normal, and today we are breaking down exactly why the whole world suddenly wants a piece of Canada. Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and if you want to support the channel, buy me a coffee. Link is over there or in the description. Now let's get into this because Canada is moving. Something strange is happening. In the last few months alone, Canada has quietly signed or is about to sign deals worth over $150 billion across energy, tech, defense, critical minerals, agriculture, and infrastructure.
So ASEAN Summit is over and APEC starts tomorrow. What has the Canadian government done? What has Mark Carney done? And what has his trade team done? I want to say, folks, first of all, the Prime Minister, Mark Carney, that's the name, but there's so many other people involved in this. So Canada has established trade deals and agreements with Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, Laos, and South Korea. So Mark Carney and his team have knocked the ball out of the park, and Canada is open for business, baby.
Encouraging news this morning from StatsCan. It seems our economy had a solid third quarter.
The agency says we saw an annualized growth rate of 2.6% last quarter. StatsCan says exports edged up as imports fell sharply, strengthening the national trade balance. The results better than had been forecasted by the Bank of Canada. It expected to see growth of just 0.5 percentage point. The third quarter real GDP results show a rebound from a contraction of 1.8% in the second quarter when those U.S. tariffs took full effect.
So the great news for Canada continues today. The German Navy has signed an agreement with Canada. They will be purchasing a Canadian developed and made CMS combat management systems, basically like it's like the brain of the ship, basically. It'll incorporate 34 German vessels. The agreement actually shows the strength of Canadian defence technologies and industries, and the initial investment will be several $1 billion. So this is really great news for the Canadian economy.
I don't think Trump's realised how badly he's messed up declaring a trade war on Canada at the same time that Mark Carney has taken over. People didn't like Justin Trudeau, and I understand why. While he was this kind of classic sort of liberal kind of thing, things generally got worse in Canada if you look at the numbers, even if I personally think he was an alright guy. Trump wants to do a trade war with Mark Carney, guy with a master's and doctorate in economics, guy who governed the Bank of Canada during the 2008 financial crisis. One of the worst economic crises in world history, give or take. Guy was in charge of a bank and made it out. Then went on to lead the Bank of England, so governing a huge financial body in the world's 7th largest economy. Guy whose job is making and preserving and moving around money for their benefit. Mark Carney against Trump. This is a guy who's managed to bleed $4 trillion out of the stock market in the last 30 days just by being there and being a buffoon. You think you're going to win a trade war against Mark Carney, Donald? Really? Main reason that Trump is always going to lose is because he's surrounded by long-term politicians, long-game politicians. People like Mark Carney, Keir Starmer, even Xi Jinping. People who are actually educated and actually know how to think in the next 5, 10, 20 years, 50 years, rather than just how are people going to feel about me next month? And that's why Trump is always going to lose in the long run. Yeah, of all the people you could go up against for a trade war, you chose, what? The guy who used to be in charge of banks during a financial crisis. You're cooked, Donald.
Your government view India as a reliable trading partner?
In terms of trade, yes, we do, actually. You can be both a reliable trading partner and there will be some sources of friction.
Canada and India have agreed to a comprehensive economic partnership, one the Prime Minister says could double trade to $70 billion.
They're extraordinary times for us in Canada. Our relationship with the U.S., our closest ally, our largest trading partner, has fundamentally changed. In the words of Prime Minister Carney, what we're seeing on the world stage is not a transition, but a rupture. It's important for us across Canada to recognize that we're turning our attention now to what can we do that's in our control. Big things have not been our strength over the last number of years. Now we're turning our attention. We're being bolder and we're being more ambitious. Our Prime Minister has made his ambitions clear. Canada will double its exports to non-U.S. markets within the decade. Think about the implications that that has on our economy and the necessity that we have in our supply chains to make that happen. This is not for the faint of heart. I think the people in this room and certainly the Port Authority are up to that task. For Canada, trading west isn't a nice to have. It's a must do, and we've got to find a way to accelerate.
While the US is stuck in trade wars, shutdown, threats, and political chaos, Canada is out here behaving like the world's new safe investment zone. And trust me, countries have noticed they are running toward Canada the same way investors run toward gold during a recession. So here is the first big thing driving this global rush: stability, not the boring kind, the profitable kind. Canada now ranks among the top 3 most stable economies in the world. It's one of the only G7 countries with positive long-term GDP growth forecasts. Bond markets see Canada as a safe haven, especially with Europe in recession fears and the US in constant political crisis.
Do you see this rotation out as positive?
Yeah, I mean, what you're seeing right now is during times of high volatility, we're seeing inflows into Canadian government bond funds. You're seeing some of the tail risks in these Canadian government bonds receding, and what that translates to is clearly a safe haven bid for Government of Canada bonds, which is really interesting in a time where the Canadian economy is at threat from the trade challenges from the U.S. You're seeing global investors view Canada and specifically Government of Canada bonds as this safe haven asset that they are flowing into during times of high worry and high concern. This is going to help finance the deficit that we're planning to run here in Canada, both at the federal and provincial levels, with more investor demand. It's also going to create an environment of opportunity in 2026 for that money to be put to work into very productive uses. So right now, it's a really interesting time in Canada. While other markets are seeing outflows, Government of Canada bonds are seeing inflows. And actually, it's not only Government of Canada bonds, it's a bunch of Canadian assets that are seeing inflows as global investors rotate a little bit away from the U.S. and towards other jurisdictions that they see as safe and consistently stable.
You say global investors. Any indication of where the money's coming from?
Well, we know that places like China, places like India, these formerly huge participants in the U.S. Treasury market have pulled back. Not necessarily that they're selling in huge amounts, but the margin and dollar of capital they're not putting to work in the U.S. Treasury market. And some of that is spilling over into the Canadian bond market. We're also seeing global central banks that want to park money in a very safe place, look at the Government of Canada, see its AAA rating, and think to themselves, hey, I think that's a pretty good place to rotate a little bit of money into. It's a wide swath of investors investors, all the way from hedge funds to, as I said, central banks and everything in between, that seems to be taking a much closer look at what is going on here in Canada, despite the challenges we face right now with the economy and with trade.
Foreign direct investment into Canada is up, while FDI in the US and many parts of Europe has slowed down drastically. So for a lot of countries, partnering with Canada is like parking your money with the one friend who never loses anything. Let's start with the most shocking one, the $70 billion strategic investment agreement with the United Arab Emirates. This isn't normal investment, this is positioning. The UAE wants secure, long-term, low-risk places to put money, and Canada is now one of the safest bets on earth. Let's break it down. Investments in Canadian renewables, green hydrogen, infrastructure and transportation. UAE wants access to Canada's critical minerals. Canada wants access to Gulf investments and new export markets. In other words, both sides win, and this deal alone is bigger than the GDP of some countries.
Canada has quite an actual strong commercial relationship with India. We are one of the largest, for example, foreign investors in India. Canada is. And there have been tight ties. What we're looking to do is to put that on a sound footing through a potential trade agreement between the two countries, which give protections to our businesses, protections to Indian businesses, clear set of rules, dispute mechanisms, and others, and build on those opportunities.
Despite political tensions, something huge is happening behind the scenes. A new India-Canada trade framework is being drafted, and both sides want it fast. India needs reliable food, energy, and tech partners. Canada wants to diversify away from US dependence. Bilateral trade could double to $20 to $25 billion in the short term. India is eyeing Canadian potash, LNG, agriculture, and AI talent. And when one of the world's fastest growing economies wants you as a partner, you say yes.
So some good news for Canada, and specifically good news for Saskatchewan. Canada and India are close to a uranium export deal, which is worth about $2.8 billion. It will run for the next 10 years when it's signed, and it's going to benefit, of course, Saskatchewan, as most of the uranium actually comes from there.
Australia and Canada are quietly creating one of the strongest democratic economic alliances in the Indo-Pacific. Let's break down the pact. Canada-Australia Strategic Trade Pact involves critical minerals cooperation, shared defense goals, LNG and clean energy expansion, and joint projects to counter China's dominance in the region. These are not small countries. These are resource giants making strategic moves. Japan and South Korea are literally fighting over who gets more of Canada's critical minerals, especially nickel, lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. Let's break down the deals. Japan's $2.3 billion investment in Canadian EV supply chains, or South Korea's joint battery manufacturing partnerships. Canada becomes a non-China source for industrial materials. Both countries want long-term energy security, and Canada is the only G7 country with all major EV minerals. This is why deals are moving fast. Countries need this today, not in 10 years. Europe is in survival mode after years of energy instability. And guess who they trust? Canada now supplies Europe with record agricultural exports. LNG negotiations are accelerating. New infrastructure deals worth billions are under discussion. EU is expanding its Canada trade diversification to reduce China dependence. When Europe calls you the future of energy security, something big is shifting. Here's the part America does not want you to talk about. Countries are choosing Canada because the US is now seen as unpredictable. US trade wars, tariffs on allies, threats to NAFTA replacement deals, constant government shutdown drama, companies moving supply chains out of the US, and rising political instability. So countries are hedging their bets by deepening ties with Canada, the quieter, calmer, more reliable neighbor. We are watching a transformation in real time. Canada, for the first time in decades, is becoming an independent global economic power instead of America's sidekick. And countries love that. Canada is aggressively diversifying trade partners, signing deals simultaneously in the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and Africa, building a non-US supply chain network and becoming a top player in EVs, minerals, tourism, tech, and agriculture. More than 20 countries are currently in negotiation or active deals with Canada. This is insane. This is not normal. Canada is suddenly everyone's favorite trade partner, and if this momentum continues, we could see Canada becoming one of the most powerful economies on earth. And the US is definitely noticing. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. And if you want to support, buy me a coffee. This channel takes hours of research, and your support means the world. So YouTube thinks you like this video over here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Au revoir.